Okay, remember that they're changing my voice. This video is about Americanism. This is part 2. When it comes to the harassment we're seeing, whether it is corporate, political, whether it is one of the millions of cases of stalking we see reported every year in America, or that the Justice Department reports that there are, we know that people tend to harass people for similar reasons. And so when we look at the problem here with people taking our rights, they're taking our rights because they refuse to have discipline. So I want you all to ask yourselves, why would a group of military drill sergeants and I agree that people aren't trying hard enough to do what's right? Okay, if they came here and they said, okay, look, the problem isn't that they're not capable of doing what's right because of some kind of genetic disorder. The problem is they're not trying hard enough. Why would we agree on that? Certainly we must be right, but why exactly to the best of your ability? So you get a piece of paper, write down reasons, will help you come to the conclusion that I'm right here. So you basically have a bunch of spoiled brats who argue that they're going to be miserable unless they do these things to people, unless they harass them. You have gays who are psychotic and satanic, who flip out and have corporate connections. You have white supremacists, Zionists, Jewish supremacists, Christian Zionists, what have you, and they think that things must be a certain way, and they act like control freaks. They act hypersensitive in a way that's unreasonable, to keep it very simple. They're all not trying hard enough to be men. Let me give you an example here. Let's say Albert Einstein was much more evil than you think he was. And he said to people, hey, in order for him to come up with the theory of relativity, that he needs to eat children every day. Well, we know now that he came up with the theory of relativity and he didn't need to eat any children. So that would not be true. And the burden of proof would be on him. Okay? And so it simply wouldn't be a logical argument, and the government shouldn't have believed him if they did believe him in the scenario that he said he has to eat children every day, and they let him so that he would come up with a theory of relativity. Pretty straightforward, right? You need to pause it, rewind it, whatever you got to do, make sure you understand what I'm saying. Now, we live in a time where there's a bunch of people in the science departments of the government and in different cults and religious cults. And their argument includes the argument that they need to sexually abuse people and harass them to maintain the state and to maintain the military activities of the state, especially military science. Now, if you have any sense whatsoever, you know that's rubbish. They're disproportionately white, Jewish, and LGBT. Now, ask yourselves, when every kind of high school and college in America, so to speak, Asians and some African students do better than the white, Jewish, and LGBT students historically, right? How on earth could that be the case? So you're going to suppress African students and Asian students to make sure that you can optimize the military processes, especially the science? But that doesn't make any damn sense. How are you going to suppress the groups that have proven themselves to be smarter than you in the name of making sure that America has the cutting edge science? And when people start calling you out on it, then you invest lots of money in artificial intelligence. But you don't stop persecuting people because you're arguing that you need things to be a certain way because the state works a certain way. Now, if you disagree with me, you say, what evidence do you have that that's the case here? Well, we know that's how they think. Almost everybody immediately knows that if that's not happening, there's something nearly identical to that is happening. They say, this is America. We have certain values here. Things work a certain way here. Quite often people say to me, that's not how it works. I must have heard that, man, like over 100,000 times in my life, because they started harassing me with it daily. They started saying, that's not how it works. Really, how it works is not optimized, you idiot. That's why I'm the top martial artist and none of you are. The rest of the world can put their heads together. They still couldn't beat me. 8 billion people. Because how I think life works, how I think it should be, is superior to how they think it should be. So they're just some kind of worm conformist, and I'm the top martial artist. Pretty straightforward. Martial arts are life paths. Mine is the top. My ways are the top. That's simple. And it doesn't take me to understand that when you sabotage the poor, you're reducing the innovation in the country. You're reducing the potential greatness of the country. You're making it so that scientific discoveries that otherwise would have been discovered and sooner never are discovered or discovered later, thus interfering with the process of the state. It is a matter of national security for them to stop, and for them to stop pretending that they are the smartest when it comes to science and life, because they're not. 800,000 homeless people in America testify to that fact. Hundreds of thousands of suicide attempts, including some of the smartest people in this country, testify to that fact. 50,000 suicides every year testify to the fact that the governing class and their scientists are not the wisest and the best. The thought that someone would argue that they are is laughable. It is so stupid. So stupid. Every day, 25,000 people die from starvation and hunger-related issues. 10,000 are children. Can you look me in the eyes and tell me that those 10,000 children all are magically idiots and none of them could possibly contribute anything to the sciences? Their arguments are not just false, they're childish, they're immature, they're outrageous. And they need to discipline themselves. The only way you can achieve Americanism is if people stop acting like bitches and they discipline themselves to be grown people, not some kind of selfish worm, some kind of selfish, sex-crazed dog. So the reason why I put Proverbs chapter 1, verses 18 through 19, because the first chapter in Proverbs, the first thing in Proverbs, so to speak, is that when you go after ill-gotten gain, you're ambushing yourself. When you raise your family and your community and your nation to go after ill-gotten gain, they're ambushing themselves. So it's a matter of national security. Remember, some things are more important than national security. But for those of you who are concerned with that and survival and quality of living, it's a matter of national security. It's a matter of quality of living for them not to do what they're doing, because it's costing them dearly. They're ambushing themselves. They're reducing the quality of living for everyone, including themselves, and they're too busy being a kind of prank-led lunatic, a kind of psychotic and evil prankster. They're too busy being that. Not just a cold-hearted prankster. That can be interpreted different ways, but specifically a psychotic and evil prank-led lunatic. A sadistic lunatic. They're too busy doing that to do what's in their own best interest, their families, their countries, what have you.